take you to the comic shop. I'll let you read about Cyclops. I'll have you spending all you got. Cyberfrog is looking hot. Uncle E. Hey everybody, what's up? Legit, back again, ready to talk to all of you beautiful people out there about comic books that move the needle. Have I gotten through to you at all over the last 45 days? Have I gotten through to you at all about what this is about how we need to learn how to make comic books electrifying so that we can jack them into an amp, turn that dial to 11, brother, grab our pick and strum that mother so it makes some noise. Now let's talk about comic books that make some noise. And over the last couple of episodes, I have been talking about Marvel 2099. I went back, I picked up a couple more issues of Ravage 2099, I picked up a couple more issues of X-Men 2099, and while I was collecting those issues of X-Men 2099, I noticed a 2099 comic book I have not seen before. And so I picked it up. And what is it? Bam, X-Nation 2099. This is a spin-off of X-Men 2099. This came out March of 1996, so we're a couple of years, actually probably about 2.5 years into X-Men 2099's run. And I am completely unfamiliar with any of these characters. It is drawn by Humberto Ramos, who is one of my favorite artists when it comes to sort of like teenage stuff. He did a great comic for Cliffhanger called Crimson that we'll talk about in the future. And he also did a comic book I'm trying to find called Out There, which also looks fun if you're into sort of like teenage adventure comedy type vibe, sci-fi vibe, whatever it may be. Humberto Ramos's artwork really does it for me. I don't necessarily know if I'd want to watch him draw, let's say, like a Wolverine comic. I don't think his style would necessarily lend itself to that. But when it comes to youthful characters, definitely. This is all the way. This is, like I said, this is from 1996, and that's right around the time I was getting out of comic books. And so I did miss this little piece of art right here. And this is also that time when there was sort of this hybrid style between American art and Japanese art. And I would say that is where you get artwork like Humberto Ramos provides in X-Nation 2099. So I open this gem up. You are now well, first of all, let's just go ahead and say that if we can't get Bill and Ted advertising in a comic book, that this is the next best option. Biodome, Pauly Shore, Stephen Baldwin. We got lots of stuff to eat. Watch it. Watch it if you're over the age of 13. That's all I can say. You are now entering Halo City, known popularly as X-Nation, an independent American city-state recently founded on an old, forgotten promise. Give us your tired, your poor, your rejects, your clones, your degens, your rad victims, your huddled mutants yearning to breathe free. Just a few weeks into this new era, thousands of refugees from nightmarish lives fill the city streets and skies with hope. But some, out of habit, stay underground. So this is Wolf. He is one of our characters, and he is running from the Wild Pack, which is, these are like flying motorcycles. And, you know, he's being chased, and he gets mad. And here's the thing about this comic, is that the art is really fun and really dynamic. The story is all right, but the problem is that I don't know who any of these characters are. And I could spend time talking about the plot here, which is basically Shakti, who was in X-Men 2099. I actually assumed that this, but by reading it and based on the art style, I assumed that this took place before X-Men 2099. Turns out it doesn't. It takes place around X-Men 2099, number 29, number 30, number 31. That's when all of this seems to be occurring, I came to find out. And we have Sister Nicholas. I don't know why they chose the last name Nicholas. That's a boy's name. And this is a girl. But they did. And my main problem with this is Morphine Summers. Morphine Sommers. S-O-M-E-R-S. not Summers, like Cable, like Cyclops, like Havoc. So I'm not really sure if maybe this is part of that gang. Is Cyclops this guy's ancestor, and did he just change the UMM to OM? I don't know. His name is Morphine Sommers, and I thought it was very, very coincidental they would name him Sommers when the name Summers is so well known in all X-Men titles. Everyone knows that. And so basically what's happened is these kids have run away from Xavier's shelter for indigent children. And I think that's very clever. But they don't really, they kind of just dismiss everything that happened between 1996 and 2099. And they introduce a lot of characters, and we don't know who the characters are. We don't understand what they're doing, why they're here. We get this bad guy. This is a bad guy, and I don't know who he is. It's not introduced in this story. By the way, this story is written by Tom Payer, just so you know. And it's a fun story, but it doesn't feel like a first issue. Mainly because we don't know who the characters are, and it's never really explained to us who these people are. Just that, we know this guy is a bad guy. Avion is his name, like the bottled water. That's right. And this is Herod, and he's the guy in charge, but we're not going to see him again. And I'll explain that in a minute. It's very colorful. It's very fun. This is the Milk Bar. I really like. This is the Negative Zone. It's a nightclub and Milk Bar in the future, and I think that's cute. Elvis Presley makes a cameo in this, just like X-O Manowar #0. How about that? And this is really fun. All this writing is super fun because they're basically drunk on this milk. They wear these electro things on. Unbelievable! You just stick these electro things on your heads, and you get like this from drinking milk. My hands. Try it, Clarion. It's really good for your bones and teeth. Uproar, try to drop me and you spill. And so they're having fun, It's just a fun book. It's a fun book. It's colorful. They get in a little bit of a fight that doesn't really make any sense other than, they're just fighting because they're all drinking. And then, he blasts him with this power, but then the next panel they're friends, and then so that didn't really make much sense to me. None of this book made much sense to me, but it was fun. It was colorful. It's got great art, and I want it to go somewhere. I want it to go somewhere, and I don't know it. Star Warp. How odd is that? You fast forward 20 years and they own Star Warp, and then they license Star Warp and Marvel to IDW. Because Marvel Comics is officially dead. That's a sign that you're dead when you're taking characters you've owned for 50 to 75 years and you're licensing them so someone else can make a comic book. I'd say that everybody that works there is a freaking idiot, actually, and should be fired tomorrow. I can't believe that Disney has allowed Marvel Comics to fall all the way down below the earth. It's not even in the dirt anymore. It's below the earth, and somebody just needs to shovel some dirt on top of it and bury it, because who would have thought the day would come when Spider-Man and Black Panther and major characters from the Marvel Universe would be published by a company that wasn't Marvel. Anyway, I digress. So, Sister Nicholas shows up, and she's got guns, and she's from, what is the name of their group? It's really good. The Howling, Sisters of the Howling Commandments. Sisters of the Howling Commandments. And then we get an art book. This is actually Humberto Ramos's first work for Marvel, was this book, supposedly, according to this. And you get a great little sketchbook here that will hopefully help some of you wannabe artists, you up-and-comers out there. See how artists have progressed over the years. It's very nice. It's very nice. A lot of characters. This is kind of weird. This is something that wouldn't fly nowadays. This is Caravan. There was some discussion about making this guy a Native American, which explains the war paint. But now he's from India, and you'll find out more about him in future issues. So you can see, how they play fast and loose with characters. and that's what creators are supposed to do. Don't get so bogged down in worrying if, oh my gosh, is this actually representative of someone from India? And like, is that important when we're dealing with the future, 2099? Like, does it matter if he has war paint? Like, can't Indians from India have war paint in the future? Or is it still just reserved for Indians from America? I don't know. For me, it doesn't matter, but it's kind of interesting to see things like that based, when you look at how uber sensitive and vindictive SJWs have become in this industry. I'm amazed Humberto Ramos hasn't been called out 25 years later for making this character and mixing Native Americans and Indians from India. But, there's a lot of good art in here. You get to see some of his older art, which is really fun. This is stuff that he just drew a couple years earlier, 4 years ago. And you can see how much his work has progressed since then. And that's the key, right? Like Jim Lee says, if you just spend a year drawing, you'll actually get good enough to get a job. Chef Boyardee, what will this comic be worth in $20.99? This is a little interesting article by Tom Peyer, the gentleman who wrote this. Well, if they still remember X Nation 2099 a century from now, they'll probably prize it as Humberto Ramos' first Marvel job. Isn't he amazing? Check out the clear as Zima storytelling. Oh, Zima! Self high five. Anytime there's a Zima pop, we just got to take a second and show you what Zima is, because you kids today don't know. This goes on. It's not as good as some of the stuff you read in those original Image comics when 20-year-old kids were becoming millionaires overnight making comic books. But it's still a good little write-up that kind of tells you a little bit more about what's going on in Tom Peyer's mind. And what I love is that he put his Merry Marvel Marching Society number. He was number 4,360. And I think that's cool that he references the Merry Marvel Marching Society down here. Special bonus text feature, amazing similarities between Joey and Doom. So when we talk about Joey, who are we talking about? I think we're talking about the editor of the 2099 imprint, Joey Cavalieri, who did great work as the editor on this. They should hire him to go work at Marvel today and clean up the house. It could use it. So what do Joey and Dr. Doom have in common? Doom is always hatching a new scheme to control the entire world of 2099. It's good. So always hatching a new scheme to control the entire world of 2099. Will do anything to achieve his end. Same over here. Doom frequently succeeds. Joey sometimes succeeds. Doom never gives up. Joey never gets a break. Doom spent half the 20th century fighting Marvel heroes. Joey spent half the 20th century working for DC. How old is Joey Cavalieri? Man, this would make him 50 years old. Now today he would be 78. Doom descends into the underworld once a year to fight for his mother's soul. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Joey takes the subway to work. It's similar. Doom, hideously scarred face. Joey looks like Joey. Chef Boyardee tastes like throw up. This is not real food. Do not feed it to your children. I do not care if they don't want to sponsor Testosterone Overload. This does not build strong bones. This does not build muscles, young men. If you want to grow up to be a toughie, it's not going to be eating cans of crappy Chef Boyardee. I think they put dog food in it. But we've got this awesome wraparound cover on this X Nation. As you can see, very sexy. It's a foil cover, so, it likes to catch the light and shine, and that's fun. I think we call this a foil cover. I'm pretty sure we do. Then I went out and I bought that. Number 2. Then I went out and I bought that. Number 3. And I'm going to tell you, the story keeps on keeping on in here. And all of a sudden, we've got another nun, but it turns out it's not actually a nun. It's just this chick who can change her shape, which is super fun. And then they go to basically like Disney World, except it's actually called Million Palms Family Fun Facility in Havana, Florida. Number of palm trees in its name, 1 million. Number of palm trees in the park, 0. So, they go here because, basically, mutants are being held in an underground cavern here. And then they get in a fight with, these little cyborg characters. It's kind of like, if you had to get in a fight with Donald and Mickey. which nowadays they could actually do that, and that could be kind of fun. So here we have Avion, and he stills this chick, Willow. Oh no, he kidnaps Metalsmith, I guess. I thought he kidnapped Willow. Maybe I'm confused. Maybe that's later. Anyway, and Morphine Summers is still like trying to get to these kids, you know. And they build a house. The kids like are gonna erect this house, and it's fun because you just basically like construct it's like a pole building, but then you spray the walls on, and it's just like, look how easy it was for these kids in the future to build a wall. Why can't Congress and Donald Trump get this wall done? I don't know. Maybe they need to spray it on. And so they build this whole wall, and then this kid gets mad because his part of the wall didn't turn out good, so he breaks the wall. And that's part of the story. It doesn't have anything to do with the story. So like the kids are still just hanging out in this amusement park fighting. They're going to fight like the characters and the security. This is security at the Disney World of the future. And this is like Tweety Bird, and this is like Mickey Mouse, I guess you could say. And they're cyborgs, and now they have to fight them. And I mean, that's kind of fun. The problem is I still don't know what the hell's going on in this comic book. And this is issue 2. And I still don't know. Still don't know. Lots of fun fighting, though. And then Willow gets kidnapped. So this is it. Willow's gone now. And then we get to, and Willow is the shape changer chick. And we get to X Nation number 3. And Willow's still missing, so now they got to go find Willow. But the sisters have the Good Shepherd, which is like their giant battle station wagon, which is fun to think of nuns in this, and that's kind of cute. This is not like religiously offensive either. It straddles the line pretty darn well, in my opinion, because it could very easily be just, you know, some guy who is mad at Catholicism, taking it out on Catholicism in a comic book. But this is written by Tom Payer and Benny Rayab, and is actually penciled by Humberto Ramos, Roberto Flores, and Mean Mike Miller. And you can tell that there's a little bit different art. It does change, and which disappoints me because I'm a Humberto Ramos guy. Some people are a Paul Heyman guy, not me. I'm a Humberto Ramos guy. And so, you know, they basically got to go say, "Oh my goodness." So, what's awesome about this actually is not that you could win a Virtua Fighter cabinet, because Virtua Fighter was a really crappy video game. It was like the first game where there were actually 3D figures, but it sucked. The playability was just terrible, just terrible. This movie, however, this is Generation X. This it premiered February 20th, 1996. And I'm going to tell you right now, this is one of the better X-Men movies made. You know, everybody would agree. X-Men 2 is maybe the best X-Men movie. I'm not counting the Logan movies. We're going to ignore that for now. X-Men 3, I think we all agree, kind of sucked. First Class was all right. You know, pretty good. Days of Future Past was all right, pretty good. Apocalypse was all right. So I'm going to say X-Men 1 and 2, and then Generation X would probably be like the third best X-Men movie. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care that they made Jubilee a white girl. Like, it kind of bothers me a little bit, because it's not exactly hard to find like a cute Asian chick. It's a lot of them. And they had to replace a couple of the characters in Generation X because they just could not do the effects at that time. And if they did, it would have cost too much money. And let's face it, it probably wouldn't have looked that good anyway. So they had to alter out a couple characters. And it stars Matt Frewer, who most of you won't know. He was Max Headroom, believe it or not. And he actually was both roles on Max Headroom. He's Max, and then he's like the guy who's the reporter who Max came out of. He was also had a TV show called Dr. Doctor. And the last thing I saw Matt Frewer in that I can think of off the top of my head was the Dawn of the Dead that was directed by Zack Snyder and written by James Gunn. And in this one, Matt Frewer plays Jim Carrey as the Riddler. Watch it, you'll see what I mean. That's not his fault. That was a choice clearly by the director. It was a bad choice because Matt Frewer is extremely talented actor. All these people did a great job in this movie. And this is really like, this is the 90s. This really does define the mid 90s, you know, 94, 95, 96. This is it right here. What I would recommend though is what you want to find is you want to find the United Kingdom version of this. The UK version has a little adult language. It would be rated PG-13 as opposed to the Fox America version, which would definitely be PG. And so you get a little bit of language, and that makes it better. Actually, it makes the campy parts less painful, but ultimately it's enjoyable. It's more enjoyable than X-Men 3, for sure. And maybe part of that is the nostalgia when you grew up in that generation, and you see something that so distinctly defines that generation. You kind of can have fun with it just that way. Kind of like when I was a little kid, I loved Big Top Pee-wee. Most people would tell you Big Top Pee-wee's not good, but I think Big Top Pee-wee is totally awesome. I think this is totally awesome. I think that it was brought to you by Sega Saturn, and that's okay. So, track this down, you know, honest to God, the only place you're going to be able to find it is, you know, like a BitTorrent, Pirate Bay type of place. I don't think this has ever been put on DVD. I'm surprised they haven't. Kind of like the Nick Fury movie that starred David Hasselhoff as Nick Fury. Better choice than Samuel L. Jackson because he looked more like the character. And that's just what I like when I see a movie, you know. But I can deal with it. Just like I dealt with Jubilee being turned white in this, I dealt with Nick Fury being turned into Samuel L. Jackson. No big deal. I get it. I understand. So, track this movie down. Maybe we, you know, at some point, maybe we'll just watch this in a live stream or something. That'd be really fun to maybe get together with some of these guys who I enjoy, like that Umbrella guy, Yellow Flash Comics, Ethan Van Sciver, comic artist pro secrets, Diversity in Comics, my boy Zach. Maybe we should all get together and watch this. Edwin Boyette can give us some just delightful commentary, very thoughtful analysis of Generation X. But I'll keep moving on. Check this out. And actually, this is like the first time like comic book characters' toys started actually kind of looking cool. This Jubilee looks really cool. Okay, watch that. Oh, we're back to this story. So it turns out that our boy Avion had a wife, or who's wife / queen, like, and they're queens of like the Disney World, the Million Palms theme park that they're at. They're king and queen of that. And then she like disappears one day, and they search and search, and they come up empty-handed until they dredge the tunnel of love, and they find her body. So like they captured December, and this is one of the mutant chicks in this, and they put these neural inhibitor. Well, they're not neural inhibitors; they're power inhibitors on her, and they throw her into this subterranean labyrinth that used to be like part of the park's, you know, one of the. I don't want to call it a ride because a labyrinth isn't a ride, but you know, a place that kids could play for a couple hours and have fun running around in a labyrinth, and that's where December met Willow. And like one day they come and they take Willow back, and you know, December tries to escape, but she gets caught, and then they're going to execute her publicly, and you know, in front of everyone, including the king and queen. But then like she notices the tattoo. See the tattoo? December notices the tattoo on the queen, and like the queen had died though, right? Found in underneath the tunnel of love, and all of a sudden like she realizes it's Willow because Willow has this tattoo. So Willow suddenly, instantly, like morphs into Avion and attacks the real Avion, grabs December and flies her away. And so they're safe and they escape. And here's what's kind of messed up is like I'm 3 issues in, I still don't actually really know who any of these people are. And it's kind of unfortunate that the storyteller, once more, Tom Payer, Ben Rayab, didn't have it together enough to put out a solid first issue and really get me into who these kids are, because I'm still just kind of lost. They're still very, very generic. No matter how fun they look, thanks to Humberto Ramos, they're still very, very generic. Then you get to the ocean, and this guy is like the king of Atlantis, who has risen again. He is a Tuma Don't confuse him with Akuma from Street Fighter 2. That's Atuma. And they're going to conquer the land. And then we go to the shelter, and then Cerebra, who's Shakti from X-Men 2099. Her nickname was Cerebra, you know, like Cerebro. And her and Morphine are having this conversation about like how they need to find the girl. And she's like, maybe I can find her. And he's like, I doubt you can. If she can alter her form at will, maybe she can alter her psi patterns too. Morph her own psi signature. Get real, Summers. Seasoned telepaths can't even do that. Jealous? Jerk? I heard that. Yo, Morpho, you seen the big C? I don't know what that means. The big C. Cerebra, maybe? Is that the big C? You call her big? She doesn't look big to me. She can't even fit in that chair. She's such a little thing. Nunz's barracks, kid. And won't you be surprised why? Okay. So then you go to the nuns' quarter, and Shakti's, you know, trying to talk Sister Nicholas into the children's welfare and helping, and she's like, you don't have any help. And then and this is what really sucks, is that now we're flashing to X-Men 2099 number 30, which I haven't read. I'm only up to X-Men I'm on number 4, X-Men 2099, number 4. But now I'm learning that like Doom was around and was helping them. And he thinks that there is a mutant messiah that's going to like lead them to, you know, safety or whatever. And then like you see this character in the background, and this girl is like some kind of experience. And this is Willow. Some way, not me, and blah blah blah. She runs away, and like this panel, I don't know how to explain what's happening here because none of this makes friggin' sense, to be honest with you. And this nun is just all for show. And I love this art. This is so cute and sexy at the same time. It's very great. And they're basically trying to steal the nun's big, you know, battleship. And sure enough, they succeed in stealing the nun's battleship. And they're flying. And then Cyan, who is the leader of X-Men 2099, or unfortunately you find out in this, he's not the leader of 2099. And Shakti's like trying to get him to come back, and he doesn't want to come back. She's like, fine, whatever. And then she sees the ship, and she's like, oh, shoot, I got to go. Let me see what's going on here. And she gets jumped from behind, and here is Exodus. And I don't know how to tell you who Exodus is, because this is after my time in comics. I'm excited to find out who. And if it wasn't for Exodus showing up, I don't know if I'd pick up issue 4 of X-Nation 2099. And they crash. Of course, they crash the ship. And basically, like, what? There's Mickey Mouse for some reason. They've hidden Mickey in here. And I don't know why. Basically, I don't know what the hell's going on in this comic, guys. But Nostromo gets shot, and I don't know if I care. Like, I love this art. That looks so graphic. It's great. But at the same time, I don't know who he is, because they didn't explain who this kid is at all. They didn't explain who any of these guys are. I know who this Death Star Trooper is, more than I know who this guy is, and this guy, and this guy, and this girl, and this girl. And there's one other thing that happens in here that's very bizarre. So check it out. Like, this chick runs away, right? This chick runs away. And then like you're going through the story, and then like here she is again. Are you noticing anything different about these girls? Anything? Like this one's black and wearing purple, and this one's white and wearing gray, and you're just like, who is this? And you don't know who this is because it is literally not explained. It's not her. You think it's her. It's not her. Even in her eyes, like, change from blue to green. Blue to green. And her little mouth thing changed too. And so basically our colorist Jim Brown and Adam Walenta were not paying very good attention to what they were doing, or this is what happens when two people color a comic, maybe. We get major screw-ups like this. Like a black chick in purple turning into a white chick with blue eyes in gray. I don't know. And that's how it ends. It ends good. So there you go, man. That's X Nation 2099. It's only 6 issues long. I don't think it was a miniseries. I think it was canceled after 6 issues, and I think I know why. Because despite great art, without a solid story, nobody gives a crap. This draws me in. You know, obviously, this kind of feels like a riff or maybe an homage to New Mutants number 87 with Cable, you know, making his debut. It's kind of got that same vibe, and I like that. And you can see why I bought this because of these 2 covers here. But unfortunately, the story is not making hardly any sense. And we're not introducing characters appropriately. We're just giving them names and expressions and making them look cute. And that's it, man. That's it for X Nation 2099. Like, I want to pick it up because I want to know who Exodus is. And I've seen, you know, obviously other pictures of Exodus, and it seems like he had like a pretty good role for a minute in the X universe, but I'm not actually positive about that. And I want to find out. And the only reason I'm going to buy issue 4, 5, and 6 is because they're 50 cents a piece at my local comic book shop. And so if you want to see something that has a lot of fun artwork, but is a story that you can't really quite wrap your head around, you know, maybe you could wrap your head around it if you were able to read 30 issues of X-Men 2099 beforehand, since they reference X-Men 30 in it, and they have Shakti in it. But ultimately, as a fan who just wanted to pick up a comic book and have a good read, that didn't happen. I got to see a lot of fun colors and pictures, and there's a couple characters that seem fun, but that's it. You don't get to know anything about them. You don't really get to have any character development that's of any value, and you have a plot that doesn't make much sense if you haven't been tracking 2099 every month for 2.5 years previously. So that's my review on X Nation 2099. The artwork by Humberto Ramos definitely does move the needle. That's why I'm going to pick up Crimson, also by Humberto Ramos, and that's why I'm also going to pick up Out There by Humberto Ramos. But as for X Nation 2099, you know, even though it wants to move the needle with this art, the story's not going to let it, and that's why it got canceled in 6 issues. And that's why this comic book review is done. So I appreciate all of you watching. Please like, please subscribe, hit the ding dong for notifications. If you loved X Nation 2099, tell me what I'm missing. Tell me where I went wrong in attempting to understand what's happening in this comic book. Tell me if I need to read all of X-Men 2099 in order to get X Nation 2099. Tell me all that in the comments below. I appreciate each and every one of you